There is this weird phase of building wealth that nobody really warns you about. You are doing the right things. You are saving. You are investing. You are making decisions that your future self will probably thank you for. But when you check your bank account, it still does not look like much. Meanwhile, everyone around you seems to be doing better. Nicer apartments, newer cars, vacations you cannot justify yet. And you start wondering if maybe you are just fooling yourself. But here is what I have noticed after growing up between two very different money cultures. The people who end up wealthy almost never look wealthy while they are building it. My name is Kai. In Japan, there is a 4-character phrase that my grandmother used to say when I was impatient about anything. Taiki bansei. It translates roughly to "a great vessel takes time to complete." The image is of something being made, a large ceramic pot or a bronze temple bell, something whose scale requires a longer process. You cannot rush the firing of something meant to hold a great deal. And the same is true for wealth. The people who look rich at 30 often are not. The people who look ordinary at 30 often are the ones sitting on something real by 35. The signs are not flashy. They are boring. They are quiet. And if you recognize even 3 or 4 of them in your own life right now, you are closer than you think. I am going to walk you through 7 of them. Number 1, you have stopped comparing yourself to others. This one comes first because it might be the single most important psychological shift that separates people who build wealth from people who stay stuck. When you feel broke, comparison is constant. Your coworker just leased a new car. Your college roommate posted photos from Bali. Your neighbor renovated their kitchen. And every single one of those observations creates a tiny gravitational pull towards spending money you should not spend on things you do not actually need. Your brain does not process it as peer pressure. It processes it as information, as evidence that you are falling behind, that something is wrong with your strategy, that maybe you should loosen up a little and enjoy your money the way everyone else seems to be enjoying theirs. But something shifts when you are actually on the wealth-building path. You stop caring what other people are doing with their money, not because you are bitter or jealous or pretending not to notice, but because you have started to understand something that changes everything. Visible wealth is almost always either debt-funded or coming at the cost of someone's future security. Smart Sam sees his buddy pull up in a $60,000 truck, and his first thought is, "I hope that makes him happy." Zero envy, zero second guessing. He knows his $12,000 used Honda and his growing index fund portfolio are the smarter play for where he wants to be in 5 years. He does not need to explain that to anyone. Broke Brian sees the same truck and immediately starts browsing dealership websites. He finances a $50,000 vehicle at 7% interest. 2 years later, he is upside down on the loan and stressed about payments every single month. The truck still looks great in his driveway though, so at least there is that. His savings account has the same energy as a houseplant he keeps forgetting to water. When you stop comparing, you become immune to 3 forces that keep the majority of people financially stuck: marketing pressure, social pressure, and fear of missing out. Those 3 forces are responsible for more bad financial decisions than any single investment mistake you could ever make. In Japan, there is a cultural aversion to displaying wealth that runs deep. You will see Tokyo executives worth millions taking the subway in plain suits, carrying unremarkable bags, eating at the same neighborhood ramen shop they have been going to for 15 years. Nobody knows what they have, and that is the point. In America, the instinct runs opposite. We broadcast our spending because spending is how we communicate status. Every purchase becomes a performance, and that performance is incredibly expensive over a lifetime. I once calculated how much the average American spends annually just on things designed to signal status to other people. The number was uncomfortable. If even half of that money went into a simple index fund instead, the compound growth over a decade would be enough to actually change someone's financial trajectory. But comparison keeps people on the spending treadmill because the treadmill feels normal. Getting off it feels weird. And feeling weird is something most people will pay any amount of money to avoid. If you have reached that point, even partially, even just on your good days, that is a serious wealth signal. Number 2, you have created a financial buffer and you do not talk about it. Here is a number that should make your stomach turn a little. According to a Bankrate survey from early this year, only 47% of Americans have enough liquid savings to cover a $1,000 emergency expense. Not $10,000, not $5,000, $1,000. 43% said they could not do it, and a third of respondents said they had more credit card debt than emergency savings. That is the baseline. That is where most people are standing right now. So if you have money sitting in a savings account that you do not need to touch, an emergency fund, a cushion, cash that gives you breathing room and options when life throws something unexpected at you, you are already ahead of roughly half the country. And the interesting part is that you probably do not talk about it. You are not posting your bank balance on social media. You are not bragging about your high-yield savings account at dinner. You just quietly built something that most people never get around to building. Smart Sam has $15,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account earning around 4%. When his laptop dies, he replaces it without opening a credit card application. When his company announces layoffs, he feels alert but not terrified. He has 6 months of breathing room and he knows it. That cushion changes how he negotiates at work, how he sleeps at night, and how he makes every financial decision. He walks away from bad deals because he can afford to. Broke Brian has somewhere between $40 and maybe $200 in checking. Every unexpected expense is a crisis that goes on a credit card at 22% interest. The car repair, the medical bill, the vet visit. Everything becomes an emergency because there is no buffer between him and financial chaos. $5,000 at 22%. APR with minimum payments turns into over $43,000 in total interest before it is paid off. That is not a credit card. That is a subscription to staying broke. Nobody can see an emergency fund by looking at you. There is no luxury brand for having 6 months of expenses saved. But that invisible cushion is one of the strongest predictors of who builds wealth and who stays stuck in the cycle of earning, spending, panicking, and repeating. And here's the part that nobody talks about. An emergency fund does not just protect you financially, it changes your psychology in ways that compound just like interest does. When you have a buffer, you negotiate harder at work because you are not desperate. You take calculated risks on career moves because a bad outcome will not destroy you. You walk away from toxic jobs, bad partnerships, and terrible living situations because you have options. Every single one of those improved decisions leads to better financial outcomes, which grow the buffer further, which leads to even better decisions. It is a positive feedback loop that starts with a boring pile of cash sitting in a savings account doing absolutely nothing exciting. Research from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that having even $2,000 in emergency savings is associated with a 21% increase in overall financial well-being. Not 20,000, not 50,000, 2,000. That is the threshold where your brain stops operating in survival mode and starts thinking about building. If you are past that number right now, you have already crossed a line that most people have not. Number 3, you think in terms of long-term gains, not quick wins. The people who chase instant gratification with money almost never end up wealthy. The next bonus, the next tax refund, the next hot stock tip from a guy at work who heard something from his cousin. If that is how you approach building wealth, you are going to be disappointed over and over again, because that is not how money actually grows. But if you have started thinking in years instead of days, if compound growth excites you more than overnight success stories, you are operating on a completely different wavelength than most people around you. And this is where Taiki Bonsai, that Japanese concept of the great vessel requiring time, becomes more than just a nice saying. It becomes a financial strategy. Smart Sam invests $500 a month into a diversified index fund and does not check his account every week. When the market drops 15%, he does not panic. He keeps contributing. He has been doing this for 3 years and he plans to keep doing it for another 20. He understands that $500 a month at 8% average annual return becomes roughly $37,000 in 5 years. Respectable, but not life-changing. But in 20 years, that same $500 a month turns into roughly $295,000. And he only contributed $120,000 of it out of pocket. The rest came from compound growth doing exactly what it is designed to do. Broke Brian jumps from opportunity to opportunity. Day trading for 3 months, then crypto, then a dropshipping course, then a real estate guru seminar that cost him $2,000 and taught him mostly how to buy more seminars. He never stays with anything long enough to benefit from compounding. 5 years from now, he will have a long list of expensive lessons and maybe a few $1,000s in a savings account that he keeps dipping into for opportunities. There is a Japanese potting tradition where certain ceramic pieces are fired slowly over weeks, sometimes months, because the clay needs time to develop the right mineral composition at the right temperature. You cannot crank the heat to speed it up. The result would crack. Wealth building follows the same physics. The boring, consistent, patient approach is the one that actually holds. Number 4. You have stopped making excuses and started taking ownership. This one is going to be uncomfortable for some people, but that is usually a sign it needs to be said. When you are on the path to building real wealth, something fundamental changes in how you talk about money. You stop blaming external circumstances for your financial situation and start taking full ownership of it. You do not say, "I cannot afford that anymore." You say, "That is not a priority for me right now." The words sound similar, but the psychology behind them is completely different. One frames you as powerless. The other puts you in the driver's seat. Smart Sam makes $65,000 a year in a high cost of living city. Instead of complaining about rent prices or tax rates, he optimizes what he can actually control. He lives with a roommate to cut housing costs. He bikes to work 3 days a week to save on gas and parking. He meal preps on Sundays. When friends ask why he does not upgrade his lifestyle, he does not get defensive about it. He is clear about his priorities. He is building his investment portfolio first, and the nicer apartment can wait. Broke Brian makes the same $65,000 and spends his energy explaining why saving is impossible. Rent is too expensive. Student loans are crushing him. He deserves to enjoy his money after working hard all week. And here is the uncomfortable part. He is not wrong about the challenges. The cost of living is brutal. Student debt is real. But he is using those challenges as reasons to avoid action instead of constraints to work within. 5 years from now, Smart Sam has roughly $104,000 invested from the $17,000 a year gap between his income and his spending. Broke Brian has $4,000 saved and a detailed list of reasons why it is not his fault. Ownership does not mean pretending everything is easy. It means choosing to work with what you have instead of waiting for conditions to be perfect. Conditions are never perfect. That is the whole point. The language you use about money is a leading indicator of where you are headed financially. People who are building wealth talk about money in terms of choices. I chose to cook this week. I decided to wait on that purchase. I am prioritizing my investment account right now. People who stay broke talk about money in terms of circumstances. I had no choice. Things just keep coming up. I will start saving when things get better. The difference is not income, it is framing, and framing drives behavior. I know people making $40,000 a year who talk about money like they are in control, and they are slowly building something. I also know people making $120,000 a year who talk about money like it is something that happens to them, and they have nothing to show for a decade of high earnings. The number on your paycheck matters less than the narrative you tell yourself about what you can do with it. Number 5. You are earning more without feeling the urge to spend more. Something interesting happens when you are quietly building wealth. Your income goes up, maybe from a raise, a promotion, a better job, but your daily life looks roughly the same. You got that 15 or 20% bump, and instead of upgrading your apartment or leasing a new car, you barely notice the difference in your spending. The extra money just quietly moved into savings or investments. This is lifestyle inflation immunity, and it is one of the strongest predictors of who actually builds wealth over time, versus who just earns more and spends more in an endless loop that goes nowhere. Smart Sam made $60,000 at 28 and lived on about $45,000. He got promoted to $75,000 at 32, but his lifestyle only crept up to about $48,000. That extra $27,000 a year goes straight into investments. In 5 years at 8%, that gap alone turns into roughly $92,000. His apartment looks the same, his car looks the same, but his net worth quietly changed neighborhoods without anyone noticing. Broke Brian's income also went from $60,000 to $75,000, but now he has a $2,200 apartment instead of $1,400, a car payment instead of a paid-off sedan, a gym membership he barely uses but feels like he should have at this income level. By 35, he has maybe $8,000 saved. He feels more successful because his lifestyle upgraded, but financially, he is running on a hamster wheel that just got slightly more expensive. If you are finding this helpful and you want to keep building this kind of financial awareness, hit subscribe. I break down money psychology from a perspective you are not going to find on most channels. And if you want to go a level deeper, I actually built a coaching tool specifically for people who think about money the way we are talking about right now. There is a link in the description. It starts with a quick quiz that figures out where you are and tailors everything to your situation. No pressure, but if this kind of thinking resonates with you, it might be worth checking out. Now let us keep going. There is a reason why studies consistently show that the gap between what you earn and what you spend is the single most important number in your financial life. It is not your income, It is not your investment returns. It is the margin. If that margin exists and it is growing, even slowly, you are building the foundation for everything else on this list. The American personal savings rate fell to 2.6% in April of this year. That means for every $100 of after-tax income, the average American is saving $2.60. The rest goes to expenses, lifestyle spending, and debt payments. In Japan, even with a savings rate that has come down from its historic highs, the culture of maintaining a gap between earning and spending is so embedded that it barely needs to be taught. It is assumed. You do not spend everything you make. That is not discipline in Japan. That is just common sense. If your savings rate is above 10% right now, you are outperforming the national average by a factor of 4. If it is above 20%, you are in a completely different financial category than the people around you, even if your income looks identical to theirs. The person earning $75,000 a year and saving 20% will outperform the person earning $150,000 and saving nothing every single time. When you get a raise and your first thought is not, "What can I buy now?" but "How much more can I invest this month?" you have made a psychological shift that separates you from the vast majority of earners. That instinct alone is worth more than the raise itself. Number 6. You invest before you feel ready. Here is a pattern I keep seeing with people who end up building real wealth within a few years. They do not wait until they feel financially comfortable to start investing. They start before it feels safe. They start before they fully understand every detail of how the stock market works. They start while they still have some debt, while their emergency fund is not quite where they want it, while everything still feels a little tight. And that willingness to begin before the conditions are perfect is what separates them from the person who says they will start investing when things settle down. Things never settle down. There is always another expense, another reason to wait, another excuse to push it back another 6 months. Smart Sam opened a brokerage account with $200 when he was 25. He barely knew what an index fund was, but he set up automatic contributions of $100 a month and just let it run. By 40, that $100 a month at 8% average return had grown to roughly $35,000. He only put in about $18,000 out of pocket over 15 years. The rest was compound growth. More importantly, he started understanding how investing actually works by doing it, not by watching endless YouTube videos about it and never pulling the trigger. Broke Brian has been planning to invest seriously for 3 years. He has watched dozens of hours of content about portfolio allocation. He knows the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA. He can explain dollar cost averaging to anyone who asks, but he still has not opened an account because he is waiting until he has enough to make it worthwhile. He keeps saying he will start when he hits a certain savings number, and then when he hits it, he moves the goalpost. The gap between knowing and doing is where most people's wealth potential goes to die quietly in a spreadsheet they never act on. And the irony is that Brian's knowledge is actually working against him. The more he learns about investing, the more aware he becomes of everything that could go wrong. He knows about expense ratios and sector concentration and tax loss harvesting. All of that knowledge creates a kind of analysis paralysis, where every option feels slightly wrong, so he chooses no option at all. Meanwhile, Sam, who started knowing almost nothing, is learning from live experience while his money works in the background. 3 years of actual invested money beats 3 years of theoretical optimization every time. My grandmother used to say something that stuck with me about this. In Japan, potters do not wait until they have mastered every technique before they start working with clay. They learn by making imperfect pots, firing them, seeing what cracks, and adjusting. The first 100 pots are not the point. The first 100 pots are how you develop the hands that make pot number 200 worth keeping. Investing works the same way. You learn by doing it badly at first and getting better over time. Waiting for mastery before you start is just procrastination wearing a graduation cap. Number 7. You have started saying no to things that used to tempt you. This last one is subtle, but it might be the most telling sign of all. You have developed the ability to walk away from purchases, experiences, and opportunities that would have hooked you a year or two ago. The flash sale does not pull you in anymore. The limited edition drop does not create urgency. The "everyone is going, you should come too" trip does not override your financial plan. And this is not about being miserable or denying yourself joy. It is about having developed the muscle of delayed gratification to the point where it does not even feel like sacrifice anymore. It just feels like clarity. You know what you want long-term, and the short-term temptation simply does not register the way it used to. Smart Sam gets invited on a weekend trip that would cost about $1,500. He thinks about it for a minute and decides it does not align with his current priorities. He is not upset about it. He does not feel like he is missing out. He just knows that $1,500 invested now, growing at 8% for the next 20 years, will be worth more than a weekend he will not remember in 6 months. He texts back, "Have fun. I will catch the next one," and goes back to his Saturday morning without a single pang of regret. Broke Brian gets the same invitation and says yes before he even checks his bank account. He puts it on a credit card at 22% APR and figures he will deal with it later. 3 months from now, he is still paying it off, and the memories have already faded into a handful of Instagram photos he never looks at. The trip did not make his life better. It made his debt heavier. And the social dynamics around saying no are worth examining, because this is where most people stumble. Nobody teaches you how to decline social spending without feeling like a killjoy. Your friends might tease you. They might stop inviting you. And that social friction is what keeps a lot of people spending money they do not have on experiences they did not need. But here is what I have noticed. The people who get good at saying no do not lose their friendships. They filter them. The friends who only want you around when you are spending money eventually drift away, and the friends who value you for who you are stick around regardless of whether you come on the trip or not. That filtering process is painful in the short term, but incredibly valuable in the long run. You end up surrounded by people who respect your priorities instead of people who pressure you to abandon them. And that social environment, the people you keep close, is one of the biggest predictors of your financial trajectory over the next 5 years. The ability to say no is not just self-discipline. It is a sign that your identity has shifted. You are no longer someone who spends to feel good in the moment. You are someone who builds to feel secure for years to come. And once that shift happens, it does not go away. It compounds, just like the money you are putting to work instead of spending. Here is what I want you to take away from all of this. If you recognized even 3 or 4 of these 7 signs in your own life, you need to understand something important. You are not just getting by. You are not just surviving. You are quietly building something that most people will never have the patience or discipline to create. The fact that it does not feel dramatic, that there is no confetti or celebration, that nobody around you is applauding your boring financial decisions, that is actually the proof that it is working. Wealth built on consistency and quiet decisions is the kind that lasts. The flashy kind, the kind that announces itself with designer logos and leased luxury cars, that tends to evaporate the moment income slows down or a single unexpected expense hits. The American personal savings rate is sitting at 2.6%. More than half the country cannot handle a $1,000 surprise. And here you are, doing the boring work, building the buffer, resisting the comparison trap, investing before you feel ready. You are in a different category, even if your bank balance has not caught up to your habits yet. Taiki Bansei. A great vessel takes time to complete. You cannot rush the firing of something meant to hold a great deal. And right now, while it feels like nothing is happening, the clay is setting. The temperature is exactly where it needs to be. 5 years from now, you will look back at this phase and realize it was not the boring part. It was the part where everything was quietly being decided.